Good morning, everyone. Or if you're on the East Coast, like Allison is, it is actually good afternoon. And thank you for joining us for another Mavens of Manufacturing episode. I'm really excited to have Allison with us. She is the Chief Executive Officer of Honestly. Hello, Allison. How are you doing?
Good, good. How are you? I can't believe
I'm.
that this is here. We
I know.
scheduled it so long ago and it came quick.
It feels like we scheduled it over a year ago, and yeah, so I'm glad that you're able to still come and have a conversation with me about some of the things that you're doing. But first I just want to get some background information. Who is Allison, and then can you tell us a little bit about Honestly?
Yeah, absolutely. I started in the marketing agency world. I have worked both on an internal team side, running a large e-commerce department, marketing department. Came back to the agency world. Really, I think the genesis of one of the reasons that Honestly is focused here is we're a group of agency veterans who have seen agencies kind of turn up their nose or look down on working with businesses that aren't recognizable everywhere you go.
Hmm.
We're really excited to serve what we feel is an underserved group that has great people working in it. You can see great results and has a really bright future here in North Carolina, but I think across the United States as well.
So what is it about the manufacturing sector that you saw, like, kind of a gap that you believed you can fill with? Honestly, like, what do you like about the sector, and where are some of the areas that you help companies in terms of their marketing strategies?
Yeah, we really liked this sector. We've had experience in it. When we chose to really focus down on this, we looked across the clients we've worked with, and there was a high percentage of just good client relationships we had, good people, people that we enjoyed working with, and people that companies we found we could have success with. Our mission is to leave a positive and lasting impact on the businesses and the leaders that we work with. And we
Mhm.
feel that there's a chance to do that in manufacturing right now in a sustainable way for some of these businesses. And we're really excited about what that looks like moving forward.
Can you provide a little bit more detail on, like, some of the services that you
Yeah.
provide? So I know, like, um, I was at a company yesterday in Tennessee, and they were showing me all of their capabilities, and they were trying to
Mhm.
really condense them down so that they weren't providing an overwhelming amount of information to their clients. And you, in terms of, like, searching for things, you really have to hone on the keywords that people are always punching in. So it can get a
Mhm.
little overwhelming in terms of marketing capabilities. But what are you specializing in as Honestly, and what are your niche areas?
Yep. So we really focus on strategy and consulting, and that can look a lot like leadership, project definition. Some we like to do discovery and strategy, but not discovery and strategy that takes 2 years. That has a
Mhm.
plan and a purpose and an ROI on that investment. So that's one. Marketing and creative services is the other. So that looks like sales enablement and helping with some assets for talent acquisition marketing as well, helping with really the storytelling angle there. And then lastly is the digital side of the house, and that's everything from web, custom development, support, all of those types of things. The last thing we do, and I think is really appropriate for manufacturing, is some staff augmentation. We pride ourselves on a strong network of talented people, and sometimes people just need a talented individual to fill a role through a project or through the next evolution of their business or through a maternity leave or something else. And
Mhm.
we like to be a resource for that in a practical way as well.
Well, we do have some comments already coming in. We have Calvin Johnson. Thank you for joining us. We also have Karen, who's excited that she can actually make this one. The scheduling god smiling down at me today. Greetings from Piney Woods at East Texas. And then we also have another Texas girl, Nikki Gonzalez. She's within the Houston area. Hi, Nikki. Thank you for joining us. She is part of Automation Ladies, which is a sister podcast to Mavens, and she co-hosts that with Allie G and Courtney Fernandez. So thank you for joining us. And then Calvin saying hi. to Nikki. But to get back on topic, and for anyone else who's tuning in, feel free to ask questions if you want, or if you just want to comment and say hi, do that as well. And I'll try to get to your comments during this conversation. But Allison, I want to learn a little bit more about you personally and your journey and
Mhm.
how it led to where you are as the CEO of Honestly. And hopefully we can talk a little bit about your skill sets too, because what I'm trying to do is share with the next generation like what it looks like to work in manufacturing, because you don't necessarily have to be good at math or science to enter
Sure.
this sector, and you don't
Mhm.
necessarily have to do the manufacturing things where you're running a CNC machine, or you're welding, or you're doing
Mhm.
metal fabrication. You can actually be one of the storytellers and the creators that gets the good word out there. So how did your journey end you up to where you are now?
Yeah. So I was in those agencies that were kind of looking down on the not bright and shiny accounts. I was usually the one running them, and a lot of times that led me into what I enjoy is this cross section of marketing, consulting, and business, where those things really play together. And I think sometimes marketers and manufacturing over the last probably 2 or 3 decades haven't been as aligned with um, the business goals as they should be. And so it's kind of been, we're going to keep marketing at arm's length. And I think there's a real business case. And so my personal favorite things I get to do is really that where business and marketing meet and having conversations about how is this marketing going to impact your business? How do we get the whole business involved? And hearing people's stories and being able to put together those pieces. And then where I am with Honestly, it's a lot about the right people. And
Mhm.
that includes the clients as well. I'll go back to just really knowing who people are and being able to understand what motivates them. It helps you work with clients. It helps you attract talent. It helps you sign new target prospects, and helping people slow down a little bit to understand that so you can speed up in the end is something I'm always really passionate about, and I think serves manufacturers really well.
So I really like the whole storytelling aspect of things because I'm a tech writer. And before I even knew about what tech writing was, I did a lot of creative writing, and I was actually really into writing poetry. And that came up in a conversation that I had with my last guest, Ray Ripple. But one of the things that I noticed when I first started in the sector, that engineers and manufacturers were not really good at telling their story. Like they were always pitching, pitching, pitching. And we do see this shift now where it's more customer focused and building these trusting relationships. So, in your from your perspective, why is storytelling so important for manufacturers when trying to connect with new potential customers? Because it's not everybody can go on Google and search for things. So you're really competing now on a global scale with everyone. That's what digitization has done for us. So what do you tell your clients, and how do you get them on the right path to start sharing their story? Because
Yeah, yeah. I think the biggest thing is that storytelling can provide a lot of consistency. Everybody that works for the company, everybody that works for a business is out there talking about the business, whether it's an employee who's has a network of people that might come work for you and you're struggling with talent. The story is
Mhm.
important there. If it is a customer service person or a tech that you might be sending out for servicing or for parts aftermarket, all of those people are a touch point for the customer experience. Having a story to tell that everybody is, it's simple, it's not overcomplicated, it's not overblown, but it's simple so everybody can tell it and you can achieve consistency, really helps people understand what you do. I also think it's really easy in manufacturing to walk the floors, to walk the halls every day and say, "Oh, well, we do it this way, and this is everybody knows we do it this way." But there's
Mhm.
almost always something really special happening internally with the process or the product, and being able to be good at telling that story can really elevate marketing. It can elevate sales conversations. It can break down that wall between sales and marketing that's there
Mhm.
way too often if everyone's kind of contributing to a story. And I think it should not be overlooked, but it shouldn't be overcomplicated either.
Right. So do you have some like a list of tips that you provide any company that you're working with to help them get started in developing their story? Because I know there's like different strategies that you can go through to really get them to hone in on their why, the what, the who, and who like their hero is. What are some of the
Mm-hmm.
tips that Honestly provides with the companies you work with?
Yep. So, like we said, we like to slow down to be able to speed up, and that's where our discovery process really comes into play. What that discovery process is a lot of asking questions and listening to the answers. And so, thinking about who is the end audience. One of the
Mm-hmm.
conversations we usually have to have: you are not your customer. Almost always, you are not your customer, and so you might think XYZ is the really important things, but it might be this other list. It might be X is the only important thing. You have to ask. You have to ask prospective employees what's important. So that's our first tip. You have to ask. You have to be able to listen and hear. That's one of our core values: is truly listening and asking the right questions is
Mm-hmm.
invaluable. And we like to pass that on to our clients too. So I think that's one. The other thing is, what are you going to do with all the listening? So we like to say, if there are three things that somebody could take away from every conversation, that if you pulled everyone that's interacted with your business back
Mm-hmm.
into a room 6 months later, are they going to say the same three things? Or are they going to say 90 things and they all have 90 different interpretations of your business? We want that consistency. So, what are those three things that people should come away from a first interaction knowing about your product or about your business
Mm-hmm.
or about working for you? And being able to understand that's really important. Um, I think those are kind of the two things. Simplify it so that you can break it down into three things, and then understand how to listen.
Yeah,
Listen first.
I like the three things and having them really like take a step back, and I think that's a really good strategy to have because if you can't pitch to anybody, like I always it's always called the elevator pitch, right? Like what is the
Mm-hmm.
value that you're providing customers? And some people like to go on long tangents. I'm one of those people where I really just love to talk. But I think forcing them, well, not forcing them, but having them take a step back and think about what truly their value is, and then testing that and seeing if people say those three things is a really
Mm-hmm.
good exercise for companies. So I love that. That's a really great strategy. Hank is saying hi. Hi, we're all on daddy daughter lunch date with the junior board of directors. I'm so happy you're here, Hank. Thank you so much for joining us. And hello, girls. I'm gonna connect with your dad and see when we can set up an interview with the two of you as well. So that's coming up. I just haven't had time right now. So you mentioned one of your core values as a company. What
Mm-hmm.
are some of the other core values that you really stand by, and how do those help you decide who you are going to work with? Because manufacturing is so broad and there's so many different
Mm-hmm.
companies. So are there specific industries that you like working with more so than others? And then how do you decide which companies you're going to work with? Because you're in North Carolina, correct? That's what you said
Yes.
before. So are you
Yep.
only focusing on businesses there, or do you focus on global companies or national companies? Like what's that
Yep.
process for you?
Primarily, it's national companies. We really like to focus. We think there's a big inflection point happening across the United States right now, where manufacturing is in a little bit, maybe renaissance is too big of a word, but there's a evolution happening
Yeah.
right now, and there's a new group of leaders coming in. There's new expectations being set. Like you said earlier, there's more of a client-facing focus, focusing on the client's needs and the value. And we think that that's a really exciting place to be for manufacturers in the United States. And we're excited to help those people. So there's a little bit of who we work with. We tend to work with a lot of people who've gone through a little bit of a transition recently. We have a manufacturing client who's 100 years old, but they would describe themselves as a 100-year-old startup. right? They have some they have some new leadership, which we like, right? They have this history and this really good understanding of how to be a great business. And
Yeah.
now they're looking at what's next. And so they have some new leadership in there. They have a new approach to things. They're doing things like streamlining a client onboarding approach that used to be 3 months and is now 3 days. And they're using some
Oh,
technology
wow.
to do that. And we like, those are some of the signs we think we look for when we think, how can we help a client? What's the best fit for us to help a client? It's those people that are making not huge leaps, but consistent steps forward. It's not easy to go through digital transformation and it can be overwhelming, but taking those steps is a big indicator that it's probably a good fit. Where that comes into play, one of our core values that I think is most appropriate here is delivering extraordinary work on time and on budget can change a client's organization. And what we mean by that is, first of all, delivering marketing projects. And I had a client in manufacturing say to me the other day, well, you know how these digital projects are, they all drag on, they all go longer than they're supposed to. You never get your website on time. And our team looked around at the projects we've done over the last couple of years and said, no, we've been shipping, we've been going live, we've been delivering these projects, and we've delivered on those promises. And I think for manufacturers, especially national manufacturers, you can't hide these large projects. And they can't slip. And that really impacts the business and impacts the leader inside of the business. It impacts investment decisions and how they feel about investing money in marketing. And again, bringing marketing closer to those business goals. So if marketing is really falling behind in delivering, they're not going to get any closer to having influence inside the organization.
Right.
So, but it has to be great and it has to be on time and on budget. And if we can do those things, we really see our clients looking like superstars and being able to invest and grow their marketing and see results.
I like the fact that you were like, no, we can actually do this, and here's our proof. Because I think one of the things that I like that's coming up now, because it's actually feeding my work pipeline, is testimonials. So there's companies that are really starting to see the value of like, oh, nope, we can actually do this, and here's proof in the pudding, and these people can refer us, and they can tell you their experience with us. So I think that's a really good thing for people to to invest in. And again, if you're not marketing who you are, they're going to find someone else who is.
Yes.
And it could be one of your competitors. But
Yes.
I like the sense of humor that they have where, oh, we're a 100-year-old startup. It's great to see that they're going through like a rebirth sort of journey. We have Tyler McKinney. He's like North Carolina stand up. Tyler's a really great human being. So Tyler, you should definitely connect with Allison. And then we also have Kelvin, who says, I own property in North Carolina. Does that count? Sure. I don't know. We'll count it. And then he said, oh my, sounds like SBD, the 100-year startup. I think that's funny though. I think it's great for companies to realize, yes, we've been around for so long and we've been doing things pretty much the same way. Now we have to make some changes so that we can keep up with the rest of the pace that all these other companies are going through. So I think that's a really good thing. I did want to talk to you about like the business pipeline, because before we went or not the business pipeline, the talent pipeline, because before we started the live, you mentioned that you're helping with a campaign. But when you're talking with some of these companies, what are some of the things that you help them with to actually bring awareness to younger generations, or even current generations who might not be happy with their current position? Like, how are you helping them with workforce development? Because that's such a huge topic right now, because we have, so many vacancies that are going to be coming up. They said 2.1 million jobs within the next, 5 to 10 years. There's
Yes.
varying statistics, but what are some of the things that you're doing to help companies bring awareness to the positions that they might have available? And is it helping? Like, are you successful?
Yep. So I can come at this from two perspectives. We talk with manufacturers who are looking at that talent pipeline, and then we also work a lot with the workforce development. groups and the economic development groups who are trying to feed the pipeline. There's an interesting disconnect we see there a lot of times, that the workforce development people are doing a lot. There's a lot happening. There's a lot of services, there's a lot of programs going on, and then the manufacturers are struggling. And there's kind of that bridge of, there's a lot of times where we're talking to manufacturers and like, that program exists in this county or in this state, and we just have to get everyone connected to it. So I think there's a little bit of, everyone needs more visibility. Now, time is an issue, right? And not everybody has all the time to explore every program. On the manufacturing side, on the talent pipeline side, one of the conversations we're kind of constantly opening is, especially the younger generation, what they've gone through over the last few years. Most of them went to school virtually, and they are really virtually trained, which is great because manufacturers want people who can learn in a digital environment now. That's a new characteristic. Those people want to apply for jobs differently. They are looking for information differently. They're expecting to see social media posts and content around what it's like to work there. They're investigating, and they want a really easy process to apply. And the competitors, like locally, we have Toyota coming in here with a lot of jobs with their EV battery plant, fully digital application process. And some other manufacturers locally, you can accept a job without stepping foot inside any plant. And so the other manufacturers are trying to keep up with that. They're trying to keep up with employee branding teams. And so there's a lot of work to be done, but it doesn't have to be expensive to make things easier for people. One of the things that, I had a conversation with someone who's in charge of recruiting at a large vehicle manufacturer, and she was having trouble getting careers on their homepage. Like, careers is, you go under about, and then 3 menus down, you go into careers, and they have tons of openings. And so it's well, if this is a business priority, it should really be a business priority. It should be written everywhere. It should be very easy to interact with. Right.
Their front page, in my opinion, but that's just disagree all you want. But
I think that's right.
I think you brought up an interesting point, though. Like, these kids, they had to be stuck on their computers, and like you said, they research things differently. They want to obtain information differently. They don't like reading a lot of text. They like pictures and videos that are very short and get straight to the point. Hence why so many of them are on Instagram Reels and TikTok. Like, that's where they're at. They don't want to be pitched to. They want to, be able to look at something and say, wow, they have the same values that I do. Some of the issues that I feel are important to them. So you completely have to kind of think how to market to the younger generations, and then maybe think about how you're going to market to current generations too, because their values are a little bit different. So it's going to be a little bit of a different strategy.
And I think you'll appreciate, I think you'll appreciate being a writer. There's also a big messaging component there, because traditionally on your homepage, it's really kind of jargon or industry heavy. And then you have these new people coming out of high school or out of a trade school or of apprenticeship saying, I don't know what those words are, right? You have to talk to me in a way that I don't have 20 years of industry experience. I don't know what those words are. So it's a little bit of a balancing act to get there as well.
Absolutely. Calvin said career tab should be on the front page if they're looking. Absolutely. I agree with Calvin. And then Nikki said so much marketing is for your community, not just for customers. And I agree with that as well, too. Another good thing I think companies should start looking into and investing in is maybe doing like a virtual tour of like a section of their factory, just so that people can see behind the scenes, because there are a lot of facilities that offer tours, but not everybody in your community might know that. Like, I just went to a tour at one of the companies in my hometown, and I was like, where do you advertise this? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, I called and asked you if I could take a tour of your facility. I didn't know I could do that until I called you. I took the initiative to call you and ask you. I was like, is there a way that you can make an announcement somewhere so that if anybody in the community has like the day off or whatever and they're looking for something to do, like this could be an event for them they could add to their calendar. Like, are you promoting this in any way? And
Right.
they're like, well, no, we haven't really thought about it. So I think manufacturers need to be creative now too, in terms
Yes.
of like, okay, how can we invite our community members in here and make it a day so that when, you know, they're talking about their town, we're one of the things that they bring up and kind of help
Hmm.
promote us and be brand evangelists for us. So
Well, and those people are probably the people that would take a tour are probably have some sort of influence on the talent pipeline. We talk a little bit
yeah,
about, the classic thing was always now hiring, right? And you drive past a big now hiring banner and there's a company name on a sign behind it. You don't know what that company does. You don't
yeah,
know what they're hiring for. They've been here forever. So say you're one of those, you drive past those sign, you're one of those kids, you go home, you ask, like you're a senior graduating high school, you go home and you ask your parents. They also don't know what that company does because we've done
hmm
a poor job of inviting the community in and telling them what we do and that we're here. And then they're not saying, oh, you should really go apply for a job. That'd be a good place to go apply for a job. They're saying, I don't know either. And
yeah,
that's a first, roadblock right there.
right. Well, in the high school that I graduated from, they have a phenomenal like CNC shop.
Mhm,
But I was talking to the director of the trades program there, and she said, "Okay, but when you're coming in as a freshman and you're looking through your classes and you want to take an elective and you see CNC machining, if you are not from a manufacturing background, you're not going to know what that is. So you're going to go on to the next one until something clicks with what you're passionate about." So she's like, "We're trying to think of different ways on how to write out these descriptions so that
mhm,
when not just the kids are looking at them," she's like, because I know some kids will go home to their parents and they'll discuss the courses that are available and they'll ask their parents for advice.
mhm.
She's like, but then if the parents don't know what it is, they're gonna skip over that too. And she's like, then we're not filling up these seats that we need to have full classes. And then if we don't have full classes, we lose part of that budget. It's hard to get the budget back once you lose it. So they're trying to be creative in their class descriptions and titles and
Mhm.
everything so that it's not the jargon like you mentioned
Yeah,
before, and
yeah,
the kids can kind of connect with it on a better term.
yeah.
Calvin said, have to drop out. Have a great day, everyone. Happy Friday,
Thank
Calvin.
you.
Thanks for joining us. You can catch the rest of the episode on YouTube for the recording. So have a great weekend. So yeah, I
I
think
wanted to go
there's,
back I was going
go
to go
ahead.
back to that virtual tour, because that's a really interesting idea. I think those same people who have just finished high school or trade school and have done a lot of their schooling virtually because of COVID, they they also want to know that they're getting into something where their skills will transfer later in their career. And I think a virtual tour opens up the ability to say, we look a lot different than you probably think we look
Yeah.
internally. Our environment's a lot different. We are a lot more, we've gone through more digitization, digital transformation than people recognize and realize. See it for yourself. We're not just saying it, you can see it, and your skills that you learn here will transfer. There's growth potential. They will transfer. And that, I think that's a really big missed opportunity, is there's this disconnect between the evolution of manufacturing recently and what people think
Yeah.
goes on inside the walls of of any plant or
Yeah.
any shop.
I agree with that. Like, I'm in the process of looking for houses right now, and I will not click on anything that doesn't have a virtual tour of the house because I want to know what the inside looks like. I don't want to have to come. The
Hmm.
outside may look immaculate, but I don't want to schedule something, go to the house, and then find out that the inside is not very good. So I will not look at anything that doesn't have that virtual tour option of the house. Maybe that's me being snobby. I don't know, but I think it would be great for
Yeah.
manufacturers. The other thing that I'm waiting for, so all of these resumes that companies want. Um, I have a daughter who's a Gen Zer, and
Hmm.
she complained to me so badly about having to create a resume. And she's like, when are your generations going to catch up with us? And I just started laughing at her and I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, why on earth would anybody want to read a page full of nonsense? She's like, it's just nonsense. Isn't it better to have a video of me talking about what I do, what my passions are? Like, don't you get a better understanding of who I am as an individual if I'm telling you myself? She's
Yeah.
like, why do I need to write it on a piece of paper? She's like, I'm not that good of a writer, so I'm not going to be able to express to you like I would talking to you who I am as
Right.
a person. I just thought that was a really interesting point that she made. And I know so many people are uncomfortable with writing such a structured list of things,
Yeah.
but they do so well with creating video and they're able to be themselves and they like that process of editing. And so they can
Yeah.
make these really creative
Yeah.
things. So I just thought she brought up a really interesting point. So I'm waiting
Yeah.
to see if written resumes will ever die out.
And you think that's bad? I think that we're underestimating the people that, I mean, paper applications are still very
Yeah.
heavily used. And I was walking in the halls of a manufacturer one day with the person in charge of hiring, and somebody said, I have this person that I want to hire in my department. She goes, okay, go get the application. It's in the third drawer and the seventh folder back, and you'll see this form and that form. And I said, and she knows that they need to digitally transform there as well. So I don't think it's not even a whose fault is it or who's behind, but it's just aligning the people that manufacturers want and need to be successful in the
Yeah.
future with what those people are looking for. And for the people later in their careers, I still think it's a lot of the same things though. They still want skills that are going to help them grow and learn and transform. And they still want to know where they're going to work. Somebody said it well the other day. Somebody's not going to leave their job for $2 more an hour. They're not going to leave someplace they've been for 5 years because with people they know and a boss they know and the devil you know versus the devil you don't, they're not going to leave it for that. But if you can show them what they're leaving it for, what the environment looks like, what the values are that's personally valuable to them that they're going to leave for, they'll make that
Yeah.
they'll make that leap. But it's not going to be for a couple bucks an hour.
Right. Well, I actually know a few individuals who actually accepted a pay cut because they worked for a company that just was so toxic and just
Hmm.
not aligning up with their values, and they were like, I just can't do this anymore. And then they found they found other companies where the culture was just so phenomenal and it was so compatible to what their values and passions were that they were like, yeah, I'll take a pay cut, sure. And
Yeah.
they're able to make more money now than what they were previously, but they had to start kind of over because you have that probationary period sometimes with
Sure.
companies where you have to kind of prove yourself, but they're so much happier. And they're like,
Yeah.
I don't want to I don't want to like lose who I am as an individual. And I want to be at
Hmm.
a company where I'm not, oh, I got to go to work every day. Like I want to go to work every day. And
Hmm.
they just, yeah.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
company culture.
You go back to case studies and references. I think they're just as applicable on the talent side as they are on the sales and marketing side of things, because people they want to hear the growth stories. They want to hear how somebody started, how their career path evolved, what they're doing now, why they've stayed at that company. You want to know and hear those things before you apply. You
Yeah,
want to know and hear that kind of consistency um, before you jump in.
absolutely. And I think another thing is too is transparency is a little bit different now because
Hmm.
and I only know because of my daughter and her friends, but they would call anybody out that they knew was BSing. They'd be like, "No, you're full of crap." Like that's not.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they want you to be vulnerable and transparent as well too, and they like companies that are in tune with that. They want to know that you're being honest with them. So
Sure.
I think it's a good shift to have. I think there's still a line that needs to be drawn with your personal and your professional. stuff that you're
Completely.
doing.
Hmm.
But sometimes that's a little hard with this younger generation. I'm seeing that they don't have that line quite yet.
Hmm.
Maybe it'll change. I don't know. We'll see. But Allison,
Sure.
this was great having a conversation with you. Before I ask you my last question, is there anything else that you want to touch on that you think we might have missed in terms of what honestly is and how you're helping out manufacturers?
I mean, I would just say that we like to keep it simple and we like to make progress and learn from that progress with our clients. And I think that's really well suited for how manufacturers like to work,
Mhm.
and move forward. And there's so many people out there trying to sell a specific solution or trying to overcomplicate things. And I'm sure everyone gets pitched all the time. And I always like to tell manufacturers, it's okay to not do all of the things. It's okay to
Yeah.
not do all the things, not jump on the latest. We don't need to be on Threads the day it comes out, because what are we doing with Threads? Like, what's the plan there, right? We don't just push the button and say we're going to do this if we don't need to do
Yeah.
this, and just make smart strategic decisions instead of hurried decisions about trends, which a lot of people are out there pushing.
Yeah, you're keeping it honest. I like that. It goes inside with your I regretted looking into Threads because I wasted a whole day of my life scrolling that app, and I was like, "This is just like Twitter." Like,
Twitter,
I'm
yeah,
confused about it, but there are some right now, it's not filtered, so there are a lot of,
yeah,
like, funny things that Twitter used to have, so I get why there's a big, rush to be on it, but I had to shut off all of my notifications
yeah,
on my phone because it just kept blowing up, and I'm like, "I can't do this." So all of my notifications on my phone are shut off right now.
yeah.
My last
And Threads
question to
might
you.
be totally appropriate for some people, and it's
Oh,
not for
yeah.
others. And so it's just making
Yeah.
a decision and not jumping to do something
Right.
without thinking.
Have a
Intentional.
strategy. Yeah,
Yes.
have a strategy, know who your
Yes.
audience is and where they're at before pulling the trigger on any of that stuff because it will save you a lot of time.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
Completely.
well, Allison, if you had one ask for our audience, what would that ask be for them?
My ask would be to listen to your current clients and your current employees and see what you can learn that you can use to maximize your marketing, your messaging, and your communications.
I like that. I don't think enough people do active listening. So anyone that suggests that, I
Yeah.
give that 2 thumbs up. If anybody has any more questions for you, Allison, where can they find you and how can they learn more about Honestly?
Yep. So you can find Honestly at honestly.co, and you can find me at Allison, Allison, at honestly.co. And I know we'll share this video, and you're great about tagging your guests and sharing those. So if you're following the show, you probably know how to find me on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Allison, for joining us. Everyone that tuned in and commented, thank you as well too. I hope you guys have a great Friday. I have a video coming up. So in August, there is a free trade show. Yes, free. You don't have to pay for a registration or anything like that. You just show up, you register, show up, enjoy the show. It's the Advanced Manufacturing Expo. It's in August at Grand Rapids, Michigan. I have a video that I'm going to be showcasing here. It's a spot from Boston Dynamics. So tune into that, and I hope you guys have a great weekend. Talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.